Hi, my name's MB Gordy, and I am a Black Swamp percussion artist. And I'm also a percussionist drummer here in Los Angeles. And I was asked to do this, to write a solo percussion piece for this project that Black Swamp is doing. And I jumped at the opportunity. I thought it'd be a lot of fun. So the name of my piece is called Ruminations. And the instrumentation that I chose to use based on some instruments that I have and use a lot, as well as instruments that Black Swamp makes, where I chose snare drum, frame drum, bongos, doumbek, multi-bass, which is this awesome instrument. If you're not familiar with it, that Black Swamp makes, it's a fantastic instrument. I love this thing. I use it all the time. So I had to use it in this piece. I chose 4 wood blocks, a triangle on the mounted triangle clip thing, and castanets, cymbal, both played regularly with a mallet or a stick, as well as being bowed. And that's what I chose. Now, how I came up with the concept for my piece was I was thinking about how I wanted to structure the time and what elements I wanted to put in the piece for a student that would be, say, advanced high school into college. And that's sort of how I structured and who I'm directing this piece at. Although, you know, it's a pro piece, so I mean, anybody could perform it anywhere at any time, I guess. But I use this as sort of an exercise. And then I thought, well, what's important in terms of, you know, what tempos everyone should know sort of inherently. And so 60, obviously, switching to 120 because that's just twice as fast. And then I thought, well, what's the transition between those two? And that's 90. So that's how I chose my tempos in this piece. And then as far as the instrumentation I spoke about earlier, and then how do I lay all that out and how do I move in and out of that? And that was the work and in terms of trying to develop the flow of the piece. And one of the things why I thought about this structured time was a piece that and you can see in the background here, a Zeklus by Karl-Heinz Stockhausen was a big influence in my life when I was in graduate school. And so if you know that piece, in the center of any given page are these little blocks designating a second. And in that second, you'll see this little figure, and that's for a guiro to play whenever it plays at whatever second. So he had a very structured, a very visible structure. Now, we don't do that in this piece. Now we have it. It's got to be mental and emotional. It's got to be felt in terms of our 60 pulse, either switching to 90 or switching to 120. So the piece starts out with just like sort of a statement with wood blocks, and that sort of adds into the multi-bass. Then we get into a little snare drum section, and out of that we come into a bowed cymbal section, which I thought, again, is something that these students should know in terms of like just the bowing technique and how to move in and out of that and get around that. We come back to, and then we move into a doumbek section with some sort of traditional doumbek rhythms. And from there, we move right into a frame drum section. In both, by the way, the frame drum is mounted, so it's not played traditionally. This way you have time to get to it. As well as the doumbek is played the doumbek is not played traditionally on your side, in your lap. It's mounted. So this way you can move from instrument to instrument very easily. So as this piece develops, then we get into an improv section, and I felt that that's important. It's a lot of what I do and a lot of different types of music that I play. And I thought this is a great opportunity within this given piece for any student to be able to spend a little time trying to, how do I want to structure my improvisation? And anything goes. It's an improvisation. So it's, you know, this piece is obviously going to be, depending on who plays it, it's going to be different every time because of their improv. All right, so then we move from that section into a sort of this finger moan on the frame drum stuff. So we get into that, and then we get into some different rhythms with the quintuplets, and then, you know, 5/2 over the bar. I thought that's a great rhythm that people should know about and be able to experiment with. And then, of course, we have triplets. We move into 3/4. Different time signature. We have some 5/4 time signature here and there in the piece. And then we get into triplets and sextuplets. And then we move into a sort of an improv section later on coming out of this multi-bass bongo section, we move into an improv again between the multi-bass and improv, and that improv is sort of based on the rhythm structure that I set up for the bars before that. And then we move into, from there, we change tempos again, back to 120. Again, you're moving, this whole piece, you're moving in and out from 60 to 120 or 60 to 90 or then back to 120 like that. We're moving around just so you can understand what that transition and what that feels like from 60 to 120 or 60 to 90. And then the piece ends coming back to this whole thing with bongos on the snare, the low bongos, the multi-bass. So now and then we have a whole section with that, coming back to sort of restating some woodblock stuff from the beginning, and then moving into the last section, which is back to snare drum. Boom, the piece ends. So that's what I want. What I was going for is to try to incorporate not a huge amount of rhythms, huge amount of instruments and make this thing too bulky, and at the same time make it interesting and have some different interesting sounds, and as well as using instruments that Black Swamp makes, obviously. And so that's what I went for. I hope it's a success. I hope everyone enjoys this piece, and it was an honor and a real pleasure working on this. And actually, it's sort of triggered. I think I'm going to actually do a few more. So, so thank you all, and I hope you enjoy the piece. Have a great day. Bye-bye.